Evening, Cake Salad. I'm going to be your movie critic for the evening. This week, every member of Cake Salad will be watching one terrible movie and reviewing it and giving their honest opinion and analysis of the film, which is relevant to my current education process because I've been in this class called Literature and Film for the past couple of weeks, and I just wrote an essay about Peter Malark and his leg and how it compares to the movie and how it's not there. And that's a fun class. And in that class, I learned things about lighting. Like, for instance, on my face right now is this lighting effect called chiaroscuro, which is evidence of my dark nature in this scene. So, since I have such experience with critiquing and analyzing filmology, this should be a good time. So I asked Facebook what's the worst movie they've seen that I could watch on Netflix, and I got many responses, including Dungeons & Dragons, Ghost Rider, Sharknado, Sharknado 2, which seems like it would be a good thing to critique, but the problem with Sharknado 2 is that it knows it's a terrible movie. So I can appreciate it as a terrible movie if it's intending to be terrible. Does that make sense? And I could go on, but there's about 1, 2, 3... So there are 18 options, and I can't decide which one, so I'm going to go to random.org. 1 through 18, generate. 4, 100 degrees below zero. Let's do it. Now the problem is that watching bad movies generally should be a group activity. It's not as fun when watching it by yourself because, you know, then you can't complain about it to other people. I mean, I am doing that. That's what I'm doing right now, but not in the moment. You know what I mean. I'm not even going to get into the inaccuracies with, like, science and weather and all that because they use the word snow clone, which is, you know, like a cyclone, like a tornado, but with snow, so it's a snow clone. And within the first, like, couple minutes, there were already shots where there were, like, earthquakes that already gave me a headache. It was not a fun time. And the acting, my goodness. Luckily, there was that dude from the Indiana Jones movies, the indie guy with the beard. That guy was in it, who, he's not good. Basically what the story was about is basically just Europe has volcanoes erupt, and there's a bunch of European world leaders on a Google Hangout together, trying to figure it all out, but instead of it getting hot with all the lava and stuff like that, it gets cold. 100 degrees below zero, in fact. And there were, like, people in Paris or whatever whose dad was like an army dude or an ex-army dude who knew the guy who was in charge of getting everybody out. And you just didn't care if they survived or not, really. Oh, and also they were planning on evacuating them all and taking them to Australia, and it was called Operation Down Under, which I appreciated. One of my favorite lines was, they just, like, went to go get some help with some building or whatever, and there was like, hey, we need help, we're Americans! And, like, the conflict was just so messed up because, like, it's almost like the weather wasn't enough because they were, like, trying to get to the Eiffel Tower or whatever, so they would just, like, throw these random stupid conflicts in, like they went to go steal a fur coat because they were cold, and just this random person with a gun showed up and be like, hey, give me $40,000. And there's like, we don't have $40,000. He's like, give me $40,000, you took my coats. Another thing I wrote down was that there just started being these random geysers of water coming from the ground, and we're like, what's going on? They're like, well, I think the water pumps froze so that the pipes burst, but that resulted in this, like, geyser of ice coming in that they had to dodge around every corner. Yeah, and then the movie just ended, like, super abrupt.